Kapar clutched his wounded side, the pain radiating through his scaled skin. He steadied himself against the cold metal walls of the abandoned mining facility. With each labored breath, he knew his time was running out. Blood seeped from the gash on his abdomen, a grim reminder of the price paid for his past deeds. In the dim light of his hideout, Keepark activated his communication device, his slender fingers trembling. This would be his final journal entry, a message he hoped would reach someone, anyone, before it was too late. "Recording transmission," he rasped, his voice hoarse with exhaustion. "This is Keepark of the Yonic Assassins Guild. If anyone receives this message, heed my warning." Keepark's mind drifted back to the days before the chaos. "I am the last member of the Yonic Assassins Guild. We were a small but formidable group, comprised of only 33 members, each trained in the art of stealth and death. Our downfall began with a single contract, the assassination of human Senator Derek Holtz. It was a mission shrouded in secrecy, orchestrated by unseen forces with motives unknown. The Guild accepted the job, unaware of the storm it would unleash upon them." Keepark winced as he mustered the strength to continue his warning. The mission was a success, but it came at a cost. It did not take long for the humans to discover it was our guild who had taken the mark. We were using it as a selling point to bring greater glory to our guild. The humans did not recognize the galactic laws our guild upheld. The humans were given the opportunity to buy out our mark if they had a representative amongst the guilds. We thought the humans fools for playing by their own rules. Enraged by the death of their esteemed senator, the humans launched a relentless pursuit of the Yonic Assassins Guild. Untok, the assassin who delivered the fatal blow, was captured and sentenced to death in the humans' courts. But the humans did not stop there. In their quest for vengeance, they condemned the entire guild to extinction. The remaining members scattered across the galaxy, hunted like prey by their relentless pursuers. We pleaded guild law, but once the humans went on their hunt, no other races dared protect us in fear of enraging the one race that defeated the Prozenith Empire. Keepark fled to the remote Prozenith mining planet, seeking refuge amidst the desolate landscape. For months, he eluded capture, living in the shadows and nursing his wounds. But the humans were relentless in their pursuit, closing in on his hiding place with each passing day. With nowhere left to run, Keepark prepared for what he knew would be his final stand. But even in the face of certain death, he refused to go quietly into the night. As Keepark continued recording his message, his words echoed with urgency and desperation. "Do not underestimate the humans," he cautioned, his voice trembling with emotion. "Their thirst for vengeance knows no bounds. To cross them is to invite destruction upon yourself and those you hold dear." His warning echoed across the void, a plea for mercy in a universe consumed by chaos and conflict. But whether it would be heeded remained to be seen. As he awaited his fate, Keepark reflected on the choices that had led him to this moment. He had been a warrior, a killer, a pawn in someone else's game. But now, as he faced the end alone and wounded, he found solace in the knowledge that he had fought with honor until the very end. In his final moments, Keepark made peace with his past, knowing that his sacrifice would not be in vain. For even in death, his message would live on, a testament to the dangers of crossing those who wield power beyond measure. With his strength fading, Keepark ended the transmission, his message sent out into the vast expanse of space. As darkness closed in around him, he closed his eyes, embracing the inevitable. But as the sound of approaching footsteps echoed through the chamber, Keepark's resolve remained unbroken. For though his body may perish, his spirit would endure, a beacon of hope for those who dared to defy the forces that sought to crush them. And with that final thought, Keepark embraced the void, his legacy etched into the stars for all eternity as. His human hunter stood over him, aiming his plasma rifle at Key Park's head. Key Park's eyes fluttered open, blinking against the harsh light of the hospital room. Confusion clouded his mind as he struggled to piece together his surroundings. Memories of his encounter with a human hunter flooded back to him, followed by the sensation of losing consciousness in the darkness of the cave. Before he could make sense of it all, two figures dressed in black suits entered the room, their presence imposing. Who are you?" Key Park managed to croak, his voice hoarse from disuse. The human female, Patricia Martinez, stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "I am Special Agent Patricia Martinez, and this is Special Agent Gromp Wall, Alliance Intelligence," she explained, presenting her badge while gesturing to the stocky figure beside her. "We're here to offer you a choice, Key Park." The mention of his name sent a shiver down Key Park's spine, his instincts on high alert. "What choice?" he demanded, his voice tinged with suspicion. "And where am I?" he added, glancing around the sterile confines of the hospital room. Gromp's cybernetic implants glinted as he spoke, his voice devoid of emotion. "You're not alive, Key Park, last member of the Yonic Assassins Guild, per your last transmission," he stated matter-of-factly as he projected Key Park's final recording on a screen card hovering over his right side. "You died on a small mining planet. Now, you can accept our offer or return to eternal slumber." Key Park's heart hammered in his chest as he processed Gromp's words. What offer?" he stammered, a sense of dread settling in the pit of his stomach. Patricia's gaze bore into him, her eyes sharp with intent. "We represent an organization that recruits individuals like yourself for special assignments," she explained cryptically. "Since you're technically deceased, you have the choice to join us and continue serving a purpose beyond death, or you can choose to fade away permanently." The gravity of the situation weighed heavily on Key Park as he considered his options, his mind racing with conflicting thoughts and emotions. Gromp's expression remained stoic as he interjected, his cybernetic enhancements whirring softly. "Time is of the essence, Key Park," he urged, his tone implacable. "You must make your decision now if you intend to entertain any offers that keep you breathing." Key Park's pulse quickened as he grappled with the weight of the choice before him. To accept their offer meant embracing a new existence beyond death, but to refuse meant surrendering to oblivion. With a heavy heart, he nodded, his voice barely above a whisper. "I'll accept. It's not the first time I have done dangerous work with little information, and I do enjoy breathing," he murmured, steeling himself for the unknown path that lay ahead. "Excellent. There is the usual paperwork, but since you don't exist, and the Vergots received a headless body which they ceremonially incinerated while you were recovering, not much will need to be signed by you," Patricia explained as she pulled up a chair. "We can say your paperwork has already been installed near your cerebral cortex." Gromp stood next to Key Park with a grin. "What did you do to me, Klopp? I don't care what your new free name is or how much the humans have enhanced that primitive slave brain of yours out of pity for a lesser Terran life form. You Klopps are still nothing compared to your known masters, and by the twin stars, nothing compared to me." Key Park growled in frustration as he tried to move his arms unsuccessfully. Key Park's muscles tensed with futile effort as he attempted to break free from the invisible restraints that held him captive in his hospital bed. Panic surged through him as he realized he was completely paralyzed from the neck down, his limbs refusing to obey his commands. With gritted teeth, he glared at Gromp, the source of his captivity, and demanded an explanation. "What have you done to me?" he growled, his voice thick with rage and frustration. Gromp regarded Key Park with a detached air, unaffected by his outburst. "We implanted a device in your head," he explained calmly, gesturing towards the cybernetic enhancements embedded in Key Park's skull. "It allows us to override any actions we deem undesirable." Key Park's eyes widened in horror as the realization sank in. He was at their mercy, a mere puppet in their hands. Patricia, sensing his distress, stepped forward, her expression sympathetic yet resolute. "You'll regain your movements when we want you to," she reassured him, her voice gentle yet firm. "But first, we need your cooperation." Kepark's mind raced as he processed Patricia's words, his thoughts swirling with questions and suspicions. "Cooperation for what?" he demanded, his voice laced with defiance. Patricia met his gaze evenly, her eyes unwavering. "We need to know who hired the Yonic Assassins Guild to assassinate Senator Derek Holtz," she explained, her tone leaving no room for argument. Key Park's brow furrowed in confusion. "Why me?" he asked, his voice tinged with suspicion. "Why didn't you ask Untok questions before you executed him? It was his mark, his kill." Gromp stepped forward, his cybernetic implants whirring softly as he spoke. "Because, Key Park," he interjected, his tone matter of fact, "we already did ask him. The answers were unsatisfactory. You can provide us with the answers we seek." Kepark's gaze hardened as he mulled over their request, his mind racing with possibilities. "I'll tell you what I know," he offered reluctantly, "but it won't be enough." Patricia's expression softened slightly, a glimmer of understanding in her eyes. "The reason you are still among the living is because you are going to get the information you don't know," she replied, her voice tinged with determination. Gromp stepped away from Key Park's bed as he began to explain. "Saying the contract came from out of the second solar system within Prozenuthian space, it was the Prozenith Empire who did it, is not enough. We already know that. It's too simple for such a complex operation. Why Senator Holtz specifically? Who exactly in Prozenuthian space ordered it? What motives? Other than his death, how does the Prozenuthian Empire prosper from the death of one senator?" As Kepark listened to Patricia and Gromp's explanations, a sense of unease settled in the pit of his stomach. The pieces of the puzzle began to fall into place, revealing a larger, more sinister plan at play. "So, you want me to be a spy?" he stated flatly, his voice tinged with skepticism. "To gather intelligence on potential threats to the Alliance." Patricia nodded, her expression grave. "Exactly," she confirmed. "Your unique skills as an assassin make you a valuable asset in uncovering vital information." Kepark's jaw clenched as he mulled over the implications of their proposal. "I'm not a spy," he protested, his voice firm. "I'm a warrior, trained to fight and kill." Patricia's gaze softened with understanding. "We know," she reassured him. "But in this war, information is just as crucial as firepower." Kepark grudgingly acknowledged the truth in her words, knowing that he had little choice but to comply with their demands. Kepark inquired with genuine interest. "Is it a war, then? Did the assassination of your senator trigger a second Prozenuthian Terran war?" Patricia calmly replied with a sigh of relief. "No, at least not yet. But there are other factors apart from the assassination that seem to be pushing things in that direction. We are trying to avoid another galactic war." Kepark grumbled in frustration of being kept in the dark. "What other factors?" Patricia did not answer as she stood up. With a heavy sigh, Kepark resigned himself to his fate, steeling himself for the challenges that lay ahead. Gromp's voice broke through Kepark's thoughts, pulling him back to the present. "You'll have time to rest before your briefing. Then you will get the information you need to do what is required," he stated, his tone matter of fact. "Your new team will be assembled in a few days." Kepark nodded, the weight of their conversation still heavy on his mind. "Where am I?" Kepark asked again suddenly, a flicker of confusion crossing his features. Patricia offered him a reassuring smile. "You're in an Alliance hospital on Glicken 5, she explained. "You'll be safe here while you recover." As Key Park settled back into his bed, exhaustion washing over him, he couldn't shake the feeling of apprehension that lingered in the back of his mind. 5 days later, Key Park was escorted out of the hospital by Gromp. The weight of his new battle armor pressing against his shoulders, he couldn't help but feel a surge of resentment bubbling within him. "So now I'm supposed to play the role of a spy," he muttered bitterly, his voice laced with disdain. "How desperate is the Alliance to resort to using an assassin and a Klopp slave for their dirty work?" Gromp's gaze hardened at Key Park's words, his cybernetic implants glinting ominously in the dim light of the corridor. "Watch your tongue, Key Park," he warned, his tone stern. "You may have fallen from grace, but that doesn't give you the right to disrespect your superiors." Key Park showed a thin smile of respect as he asked, "How did you end up here on this planet with your new freedom?" Gromp slowly replied as he looked up to his right. "It's a long story for another time." As they entered the small meeting room, Key Park's eyes fell upon Patricia, seated next to a Noan, his reptilian features twisted into a scowl. The sight of the Noan clad in a prisoner's uniform only fueled Key Park's resentment further. "And who is this?" he sneered, gesturing towards the Noan with a contemptuous flick of his hand. Patricia's expression remained impassive. "This is Trelk, and he will be giving your briefing today." Key Park merely breathed a sigh of discontent as his eyes went from the Noan to a card flashing on the upper right side of the display screen, labeled Trelk's Deal. Trelk smirked as he inquired while closing his file, "Only the briefing for today? I understood I was auditioning for a more formal and permanent role." Patricia's expressions did not change. "Mr. Trelk, how did you enjoy those few weeks of hard labor?" Trelk shifted in his seat. "They were not as pleasant as your company, Agent Martinez. If you are going to go into some drawn-out explanation as to my new, more comfortable arrangement will be revoked if I step out of line, save it. I am all about business, and the information I have will be vital to your new so-called team." Despite his misgivings, Key Park braced himself for whatever revelations lay ahead, knowing that he had little choice but to play his part in the Alliance's grand scheme. Trelk, noticing Key Park's hint of acceptance, stood and began the briefing. "On the monitor, you will see Tilnum, an icy moon in the second solar system of Prozenuthian space. This moon is a mining camp where not just do they currently have over 10,000 humans slaving away, but it also is where the contract on the human senator originated from." Key Park grumbled. "If it's a mining colony that should have cut down on the ones who could order such a contract, probably the warden or another high-ranking officer." Trelk raised one of his slim fingers to his temple. "That would be the most logical guess. The warden is Pranik Urk." Gromp injected. "I've heard that name before. What do we know of him?" Trelk pointed to the screen. "He was the former system marshal over the Sol System occupation. If you want to know more about him, I suggest you click the card that appears on the upper right part of the screen." "For now, I can say what I know of him is after his trial, his family has been paying a steep price. But placing a contract on a human senator would profit him or his family nothing, unless it's part of something bigger where he can benefit from the dividends. I will say if it was him who orchestrated the contract, it was sloppy. It was too easy to trace it back to him." Trelk explained as he turned to face the others. "Then who would profit from that sector? It could be possible they want others to believe this Warden Urk planned everything to cover their own tracks," Patricia asked, looking directly at Trelk. "Now that is why the Verb God is here, isn't it? I figured out quickly you need someone who could get in and get out with the information if anything went wrong. But this Verb God is probably 99% brawn and 1% brain. Watch your tongue, Noan, if you don't want it ripped out." Key Park growled in response. "Relax. What I meant is with the limited information at hand," Trelk said, as he gestured for Key Park to calm down. You would need someone to go in asking the right questions without raising any suspicions. I happen to have several contacts in that sector. I've been to Tilnum before, and I do believe my negotiating skills have proven to be proficient. I'm just suggesting if I am allowed to join your little tasker, it would greatly improve its odds at getting the answers you seek. We figured you were going to say that, and we already have an answer for you, Gromp replied as he touched his brow. Well, Trelk quickly asked. Gromp replied with a smile. That 2-day visit you had at the prison clinic last week. Well, you and Key Park now have something in common other than being reptilian. Welcome to the team. You take your orders from me. We leave in a week. As the cruiser glided through the void of space, Trelk's frustration simmered beneath his reptilian exterior. Gromp, running this ship on full automation is foolish, he growled, his voice thick with irritation. I should have been allowed to bring my Noan crew. Gromp met Trelk's gaze with a steely resolve. This entire mission could be considered foolish, he retorted, his tone unwavering. But we'll do it my way. Meanwhile, Patricia turned her attention to Trelk, her brow furrowed with concern. How sure are you that your contacts can be trusted? She inquired, her voice laced with skepticism. Trelk's eyes gleamed with confidence as he explained, Trust comes with payment for services rendered. My contacts have their own reasons to keep their end of the bargain. Despite his assurances, Patricia couldn't shake the feeling of unease that gnawed at her insides, knowing that their success depended on the reliability of Trelk's connections. During their conversation, Kepark couldn't resist needling Trelk, his voice dripping with sarcasm. Looks like the tables have turned, Trelk, he taunted, a smug grin playing at his lips. Now you're the slave, and the Klopp is your master. Trelk's reptilian features contorted with barely suppressed fury as he shot Kepark a withering glare. Don't forget, Kepark, he snapped, his voice low and dangerous. The Klopp is both our master. Kepark merely grunted at Trelk's reminder as he walked toward the weapons table. Kepark picked up a fully charged plasma rifle as he turned towards Gromp. How do you know I, or this poor excuse for a Noan pirate, won't just turn you into the first Prosenuthian patrol we come across? Or how are you so sure I will not kill all of you now? Kepark asked as he aimed the plasma rifle at Gromp's head. Without showing any emotion, Gromp replied, Because you just tried, and for as much as you want to, you will never be able to pull the trigger or even plan to kill Agent Martinez or myself. Kepark gave a sly smirk as he countered. What good am I if I can't kill? Or do I get to kill the ones you want me to? Gromp turned away from Kepark and began to work on the main screen as he answered. You will know what to do, and when to do it as I see fit. And if you or Trelk have the idea of just turning us or yourselves into any Prosenuthian authority, the implants in your heads will provoke a brain hemorrhage followed by cardiac arrest within seconds. I don't have to be there for it to happen. Trelk's voice crackled over the intercom as he informed the crew that they had just entered the second solar system of Prosenuthian space. With practiced ease, he guided the cruiser to a docking station nestled on the side of a large asteroid known as Tark Godi. As they disembarked from the ship, Trelk spoke out to Patricia with a grim expression. Agent Martinez, you'll have to stay behind, he stated firmly. No offense to you humans, but your presence here will only get us killed. To their surprise, Agent Martinez emerged from her quarters with her skin completely blue, her transformation remarkable. Don't worry, she reassured them, her voice tinged with determination. This treatment will last for 72 hours. I'll be able to pass as a Geesan female. With that, they set off towards the station, the weight of their mission heavy on their minds as they prepared to meet Trelk's contact. As they entered the cantina and settled into a corner booth, Kepark's keen eyes immediately spotted a Verbgot sitting alone in the shadows. That's Dreek, he murmured to the others, his voice low and urgent. "A member of the Light Crushers' Assassins Guild." Patricia's eyes widened with alarm at the mention of the notorious guild, her hand instinctively reaching for her concealed weapon. "What are they doing here?" she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. Capark's gaze remained fixed on Dreek, his mind racing with possibilities. "Guilds like the Light Crushers don't come into this part of space unless they're on a job," he explained, his tone grave. "Or more than likely, they're here to meet a client." As tension hung thick in the air, the crew braced themselves for the inevitable confrontation that lay ahead, knowing that their mission had just taken a dangerous turn. Trelk's voice cut through the tense atmosphere. "Don't do anything hasty. Let's await my contact." Gromp calmly addressed Keepark. "Keep your eye on this Dreek fellow and anything else you see out of the ordinary. We stay on mission." As they waited, the anticipation hung thick in the air, each member of the team on edge. Suddenly, their attention was drawn to a figure approaching their table, a bipedal bird humanoid with a purposeful stride. Trelk gestured for the newcomer to sit. "This is my old colleague Olka of the Ossine." With a swift exchange, Trelk passed Olka a small package, sealing their transaction. As the conversation turned to the details of the contract on the human senator, Keepark leaned in, eager for answers. "Who placed the contract on the senator?" he asked, his voice laced with curiosity. Olka's response shed light on the intricate web of alliances behind the contract. Why, it was Warden of Tilnum Pranik Urk, of course, but not his plan, Olka explained cryptically. He was approached by external parties who made him a deal. The revelation left the group grappling with the complexity of their mission, uncertainty clouding their next steps. "What kind of a deal?" inquired Patricia. Olka nodded to a waitress that brought him a drink as he answered, "The Urk family is in need of friends if they are to survive. He was approached by external parties that offered needed backing to the Urk family in exchange for the contract on the senator. It was important to make it easy to track it back to the warden to discourage anyone from asking more questions. The ones who traveled to Tilnom took different transports. They covered their tracks well, except for the fact that one was a Geesin." As Olka continued to divulge details, the group's understanding of the situation deepened. "A Geesin?" Patricia interjected, her voice tinged with suspicion. "What would they want with a mining camp warden?" "They?" questioned Olka with genuine intrigue. Suddenly, Olka's head fell forward onto the table. Cromp shook Olka, but he did not respond. Keepark opened Olka's mouth and looked around for Dreek as he explained, "His tongue is blue. That's an avian toxin. Dreek is gone. Either Olka was the mark, or someone didn't want us asking him any questions." Gromp quickly gave out his orders. "Keepark, find this Dreek fellow, only observe if he is still on this station. Trelk, we need you to find another one of your contacts and get as much information on the Geesin partners the warden has." Trelk recovered the payment from Olka's lifeless body as he answered, "I know exactly who to contact, and now we have a bit more to barter with. Shall we return to my ship minus the mighty Keepark, who must now fight with only his eyes?" Keepark made a vulgar hand gesture toward Trelk as he left the cantina to begin his search. "I think we have overstayed our welcome here. Let's plan our next step," Patricia said as they followed Trelk's lead to the exit. Hours passed as Keepark stealthily roamed the corridors of the cargo bay, his senses keenly attuned to any sign of suspicious activity. Finally, his patience paid off as he spotted Dreek, engaged in a clandestine exchange with a morale security guard. The sight of Dreek accepting a package confirmed Keepark's suspicions. It was indeed a contract. Without hesitation, he relayed his discovery to Gromp, his voice low and urgent over the communicator. "I found Dreek," he reported. "Should I detain him?" Gromp's response crackled through the communicator, his orders clear and concise. "Observe from a distance," he instructed. Use violence only as needed. Just as Keepark was about to fall back, a voice called out from behind him, causing him to whirl around in surprise. Keepark's heart raced as he turned to face the unexpected newcomer, a younger verbgot named Flupont, another member of the notorious Light Crushers Assassins Guild. "Flupont," Keepark growled, his voice dripping with contempt. "No one has killed you yet?" Before Flupont could react, Keepark launched into action, swiftly incapacitating the young assassin with a well-placed blow. With Flupont subdued, Keepark once again reached out to Gromp for guidance. "Permission to kill the assassin?" he asked, his tone laced with urgency. Gromp's response was swift and decisive. "Bring him to an empty cargo bay for interrogation," he ordered, "and make sure you're not seen again." With a nod of determination, Keepark dragged Flupont away, his mind racing with the implications of their unexpected encounter. As Flupont regained consciousness, his eyes widened in alarm to find himself tied to a chair, with Keepark and a Gießen female, Patricia, standing before him. Patricia wasted no time in pressing Flupont for answers, her tone firm and unwavering. "What are Light Crushers Guild assassins doing on Tark Godee Station?" she demanded, her gaze piercing. Flupont's lips twisted into a sneer as he spat out a curse, refusing to cooperate. Sensing the impasse, Keepark stepped forward, his voice low and threatening. "If you don't start talking, there's no reason for us to keep you alive," he warned, his eyes narrowing with determination. Flupont relented slightly as he continued, "I accepted a private contract from Tilnum." Keepark snarled, "That is obvious. We want to know the mark." Flupont divulged almost comically. "A former human marine named Ford, currently employed as a first mate on the cargo vessel Muntun Yada. Now that you have your answers, can you release me now? That vessel is scheduled to dock at Myplok 3 on the edge of this system in about 144 kiloseconds. Since you obviously didn't intend to kill me, can you release me already?" Patricia's curiosity piqued as she questioned, "What is so important about Ford? What significance is there?" Flupont smirked with a smart reply. "I only had enough information to get the job carried out and collect my percentage of the credits." Keepark scoffed. "He lies. The Light Crushers never take a human mark. Do I have to cut the truth out of him?" "How do you know that?" Patricia inquired. Keepark answered as he pointed up to the top right of the room. "That's a story for another time." Flupont injected with another smile. "Who said anything about us taking out the mark? You know just as well as I do, Keepark, which you look great for someone who is dead, by the way. You know an unregulated contract when you see it. Why do you think we are out here? There are easy credits to be made when you pawn off a bad deal to a small desperate guild willing to give up a 20% commission. Kind of like the Yonix Assassins Guild." "I remember them. Who was their last member again?" Keepark kicked Flupont to the ground before Patricia intervened, ordering Keepark to step back. "Why would a Gießen be interested in these matters?" Flupont questioned, his tone laced with genuine curiosity. "And why are you still alive, Keepark? Why are you taking orders from a Gießen?" "That's none of your concern," Patricia retorted, her gaze defiant. "Now tell us who ordered the contract on Olka of the Ossine," Patricia asked with a firm tone. Flupont gave her a confused look as he hissed, "That's news to me. How should I know that?" Patricia asked one last question as she began to walk near the door. "Then you don't know anything else?" Seconds after Flupont answered, "No," a sharp pain entered through the back of his skull, then darkness consumed him. Keepark holstered his sidearm as he questioned Patricia. "After I get rid of the body, do we know where we are going next?" Patricia simply replied as she stepped out of the cargo bay. "We leave in 30 minutes. Hurry this up." As they boarded the ship, Patricia wasted no time in questioning Trelk about the proximity of his contact to Myplok 3. Trelk's response was terse but promising. They weren't far from the designated location. Patricia immediately issued orders for Trelk to set a course for Myplock 3 and to expedite their journey as much as possible. Trelk nodded in acknowledgement, his fingers flying over the controls as he plotted their course. I have punched in the coordinates. The system calculated us arriving in just over 70 kiloseconds. That is as fast as we can go without attracting any unwanted attention. As the ship surged forward into the depths of space, Patricia and Gromp retreated to a sealed briefing room to relay their findings to Alliance intelligence. Meanwhile, Keypark embarked on his own investigation, scouring the ship until he stumbled upon a hidden compartment containing sealed containers. With a sense of foreboding, he examined the contents, his suspicions growing with each passing moment. Determined to confront Trelk, he sought out the reptilian leader, his mind racing with questions. Entering Trelk's quarters, Keypark wasted no time in demanding answers. With the door sealed behind them, he grabbed Trelk by his vest and pinned him to a wall, his voice low and accusatory. I found a jar of avian toxin on board, he stated bluntly, his eyes boring into Trelk's. The same toxin that killed Olka. Why did you kill your own contact? Trelk's expression remained stoic as he met Keypark's gaze, his demeanor unyielding in the face of scrutiny. It was the only way to keep our presence in this system secret, Trelk finally admitted, his voice tinged with resignation. And to ensure that both of us remain valuable assets to the Alliance. Keypark's brow furrowed in disbelief, his mind reeling with the implications of Trelk's actions. With a grim, low voice, Trelk calmly explained their situation. Think about it. If I am not valuable enough, they will throw me back in those mines. I will be dead before my sentence is up. And you are a weapon. I am making sure that weapon remains useful to them. The assassins being there was a stroke of luck, making it easy to pin the death on them. If Olka didn't die, he would have run off to the Prosenuthian warden to sell him our information. How long will we last after that? You came out the hero back there, using your valuable skills to root out those dangerous assassins from possibly harming our trusting Alliance special agents. Keypark released his grip on Trelk as he murmured, You play a dangerous game here, Trelk, above your station. Trelk replied as he readjusted his garments. On the contrary, this has always been my station. You have been a weapon all your life. Now you must be more than a weapon, or you will not last in your new role. Keypark left Trelk's room pondering on his words. A dark thought crossed his mind as he realized if Trelk killed Olka without a second thought, then sacrificing any other team member who was not an Alliance agent would not be difficult either. But Trelk made the right call, albeit for the wrong reasons. It was true if Trelk played his game, they both remained critical assets to this mission. As their ship touched down on Myplock 3, Gromp wasted no time in briefing Trelk and Keypark on their mission parameters. Alliance intelligence wants Ford to be kept safe, he stated firmly, his gaze locking with theirs. We're here to bring him in for questioning, but no violence. We need him alive. With their instructions clear, the group set out to prepare for the arrival of the Muntun Yachter, their minds focused on the task at hand. Upon reaching the station, Gromp reiterated the importance of discretion to Keypark. Search for anyone you recognize, but make sure you're not seen, he instructed, his voice low and commanding. Observe and report only. We can't afford any unnecessary casualties. Meanwhile, Patricia turned to Trelk, her expression thoughtful. Is your next contact on board the station? She inquired, her curiosity piqued. Trelk nodded in response, his gaze flickering with caution. Yes, a known female named Vrinma, he explained. But it's best if Agent Wall doesn't join in the conversation. Vrinma travels with Klophouse servants, and we don't want to draw unnecessary attention. As Patricia and Trelk stepped into Vrinma's luxurious station hotel, they were immediately struck by the opulence that surrounded them. Vrinma, adorned in elegant attire, greeted them warmly and invited them to take a seat in her reception room, which exuded an air of sophistication. "My dear Trelk, it's been far too long since you visited me last." Trelk embraced her and returned the pleasantry. "Oh, you always give me good reason to return." With 4 Klopp servants and 2 morale security guards present, the scene was one of affluence and power. Trelk engaged in polite conversation with Vrinma, exchanging pleasantries before introducing Patricia. "This is my new associate, Pat. She will be most helpful in my future dealings." Despite her inner discomfort at the sight of the Klopp slaves, Patricia maintained her professional demeanor, determined to focus on the task at hand as she addressed Vrinma. "It is a true delight to meet you. This is my first time in this system, and by far, this is the brightest part of my trip." As the discussion turned to business matters, Trelk revealed the setbacks he had faced due to the assassination of the human senator. Vrinma's expression darkened at the mention of guild work. "What have I always told you about never involving oneself in such risky endeavors?" Trelk remained resolute, explaining, "However, my new venture requires me to contact the Geesin associated with the Tilnom affairs. I mean, this is the role that makes Pat's presence for this purpose invaluable." Vrinma inquired with a genuine interest in a profitable situation. "You are proposing a new business venture to recoup your losses? I take it the commissions from your ship captains have gone thin." Trelk offered with a smile, "I will give a 20% increase in payment of your usual rates." Vrinma, ever the astute negotiator, countered with, "Double." Trelk gave her a thin smile. "We both know it will be 50%. Agreed?" Vrinma returned the smile. "Deal. Now let us dine," Vrinma said as she ordered her Klopps to serve her guests. Gromp led Key Park to the docking station where the Muntun Yadar was scheduled to arrive. As they approached, Gromp turned to Key Park, his expression serious. "If you were to take such a mark, how would you set it up?" he asked, his tone low and measured. Key Park considered the question carefully before responding, outlining his strategy with precision. "I'd know where Ford would be staying," Kepark explained. "I wouldn't expose myself here at the docking station. Instead, I'd position myself further off to observe Ford entering and assess if he's alone." He continued, detailing his plan to eliminate Ford, with the target's quarters being the preferred location. Gromp nodded in understanding, absorbing Kepark's insights as they prepared for Ford's arrival. As they waited for the Muntun Yadar to dock, Gromp instructed Kepark to keep a sharp eye out for any signs of potential assassins lurking in the vicinity. "Look around, but don't draw attention to yourself," he cautioned. "We need to know if there are any threats before they make their move." With his orders clear, Gromp resolved to accompany Ford back to their ship, ensuring his safety in the face of potential danger. As the tension mounted, Kepark surveyed the area, his senses heightened as he scanned the crowd for any suspicious activity as he continued to relay the most likely course. "Ford isn't scheduled to arrive here for at least another 40 kiloseconds. That is too much time for a guild member to be exposed out here. If there is an assassin here, he would set up 2 to 3 kiloseconds before Ford entered." Gromp weighed his options for a few seconds before giving his orders. "Look around the station for places you would wait. Observe only. We meet back at our ship 7 kiloseconds before Ford is scheduled to arrive. Stay in communication only when needed. Do not engage anyone on your own." Kepark smirked as he replied, "Even if I have the chance to catch any would-be assassins by surprise? I thought keeping Ford safe was the mission." Gromp replied with a stern look, "You have done enough killing for one day. My orders are to be followed to the letter. Violence only when necessary. Don't be seen. Kapark grunted once more as he walked off, blending in amongst the crowd of travelers. As Vrinma handed Trelk a package, she explained the purpose behind their meeting. "This package contains all the details," she began. "You and Pat are to meet with Fintalk, a Geeson power broker with an office on the lower decks of this station." Trelk listened intently as Vrinma elaborated on Fintalk's role as the Geeson responsible for escorting out-of-system guests who wished to visit the Warden on Tilnum. Vrinma questioned about Trelk's intentions. "My dear Trelk, are you planning to once again enter the Klopp trading business?" Trelk responded with a knowing smile. "You know me too well," he remarked. "But there are other ventures beyond Klopp's that I'm considering, ventures that could benefit from the diverse workforce that the Warden can provide." With their plans set in motion, Trelk and Patricia prepared to make their way to Fintalk's office, while Patricia relayed the location to Gromp, ensuring their coordination for the meeting. As Trelk and Patricia approached Fintalk's office, they were joined by Gromp, who had been briefed on their whereabouts. With the team assembled, they stood before Fintalk's door, anticipation coursing through their veins. Trelk took the lead, engaging the morale guard stationed outside Fintalk's office and requesting entry. Upon entering Fintalk's office, they were met with an air of authority and intrigue. Fintalk, a distinguished Geeson power broker, regarded them with a keen eye as they exchanged pleasantries. "What can I do for you, Noan?" Fintalk said, as he inhaled green vapors from a small vape pen. "Trelk is the name, and I do understand you can arrange an audience with the Warden of Tilnom, for the right compensation, obviously," replied Trelk with a welcoming smile. "Mr. Trelk, you may start by explaining what business you have in mind with the Warden before I even consider taking your credits," Fintalk said as his eyes fell on Patricia. Trelk leaned into Fintalk's view as he began to explain. "Well, business is what I am all about. I understand there are well over 1 million working guests on Tilnum, and several expire every day, too many to really keep track of. I have a need for a diverse, cheap labor workforce for a business venture that has fallen into my lap. I see an opportunity for the Warden to report a few dozen extra casualties that he will no longer have to keep rations for, and a noticeable number of credits can mysteriously fall into his possession." Fintalk took a few moments to think over the proposal before giving his answer. 25,000 credits for 24 workers. Trelk gave a look of disbelief. "I can get twice as many Klopps for that much. But I do see how you came up with such an amount considering I am looking for diversity. Although, I insist if I am to pay that much, I hand-select them in person for inspection." Fintalk smiled as he gestured one of his morale guards over. "Well then, Mr. Trelk, I will run this offer to the adjacent party and get an answer when you return in, say, 85 kiloseconds. To be honest, I wouldn't have seen you if not for Vrinma. But it seems you share her obsession with dressing your Klopp servant with materials. He would not even begin to comprehend the value draped on him, kind of like a groomed pet of sorts. I tell you, it baffles me how these primitives hail from the same planet as the humans. At least those other primates can claim a victory over the Prozenuthian Empire." "It does indeed count as baffling, but the additional garments display a distinct pizzazz, I would say," Trelk replied as he stood and gestured Pat and Gromp to the door. As the team exited Fintalk's office, Patricia wasted no time in issuing instructions. "Let's get back to the ship," she said firmly, her tone leaving no room for argument. Trelk, impressed by Gromp's composure during the meeting, attempted to engage him in conversation. "That was most impressive, keeping it together back there, Agent Wall. I must say I am not sure if that was because of your implants or whatever training the humans gave you." Gromp remained silent, his focus elsewhere as they made their way back. Upon reaching the ship, Gromp took a seat at his desk, his demeanor somber as he stared at the ship's wall in contemplation. Sensing the tension in the air, Trelk turned to Patricia, voicing his concerns. "Should we be worried about Agent Wall? I I can understand a reminder of his past treatment could have been most devastating. Patricia glanced at Trelk momentarily before speaking. Your silence will be greatly appreciated. Patricia's expression was grave as she awaited Gromp's next move. After a prolonged silence, Gromp finally broke his reverie, approaching Patricia with a sense of urgency. Gromp's message was troubling. Fintok didn't contact the warden. Instead, he reached out to someone named O'Preen, sharing the details of our discussion. O'Preen seemed particularly interested in your presence there. The revelation sent a chill down Patricia's spine. Do you think it's because they thought me a Geesin or something else? Gromp rubbed his chin in thought for a moment before answering. I don't have enough information to be sure, but O'Preen will be waiting nearby for Trelk's return. Trelk, taken aback by the gravity of the situation, expressed his frustration. It would have been most helpful had I known you would be planting a listening device. We could have been easily outgunned back there if they would have noticed, especially without Keypark. Gromp ignored Trelk's small outburst as he used his communicator. Keypark, report. There were several seconds of silence over the communicator before Keypark's reply came over as barely over a whisper, We have an ample situation on our hands. Gromp calmly inquired, How ample? About a half-dozen armed Ixiarts ample, answered Keypark. What do you think they're doing? Gromp asked, his voice tinged with curiosity and concern. Keypark, his gaze fixed on the scene unfolding before them, offers his assessment. My best guess is they're about to take out the assassins, he replies, his tone confident yet cautious. As the Ixiart's short bipedal feline humanoids form a breaching formation at the entrance of a door, Keypark watches with keen interest, noting their impressive tactics. With weapons poised and ready, the first Ixiart cautiously opens the door slightly, tossing in a cylinder before quickly stepping back. Moments later, a blinding flash illuminates the room, followed by the sound of screams. Keypark observes as the Ixiarts swiftly move in, their laser rifles raised in a single file. Despite the lack of discharge sounds, it's evident that the rifles are on silencer mode, ensuring stealth and efficiency. Keypark reports his observations, confident that the Ixiarts have successfully dealt with the assassin threat. With the situation seemingly under control, Gromp nods in acknowledgement of Keypark's report. Are the Ixiarts a rival guild of sorts? Gromp asked, his tone inquisitive. I am going to say no. Keypark replied almost assuredly. I have never heard of an Ixiart Assassins Guild. This was more like a military operation. Whoever they are serious. What do you want me to do? Keypark asked as he observed the area for any other unexpected guests. Quietly get back to the ship, Gromp ordered, his voice stern. As Keypark arrived at the ship, he found Gromp and Patricia were already sealed away in the conference room. I guess they have a lot to tell the Alliance. Did I miss out on anything? Keypark asked Trelk as he took a seat opposite to him. Trelk gave a shallow grin as he replied, Nothing as exciting as what you have been doing. I have never heard of Ixiarts fighting the way you described. I mean, the bulk of them are under the Prozenuthian Empire's heel. And as for the free ones, there are barely 2 million of them scattered amongst rival tribes. They are a bad investment even as servants. Keypark gave Trelk a sarcastic look as he injected, Servants? You mean slaves? Trelk whimsically replied, Is there a difference? Gromp's voice came over the intercom. Trelk, let our guests in, please. Send Xong into our briefing room. Trelk was baffled as he saw 6 Ixiarts standing outside the ship's entrance on the main screen. As Trelk welcomed the 6 Ixiarts into his ship, he led their leader, Xong, to the sealed-off conference room where Gromp and Patricia awaited. Meanwhile, the remaining 5 Ixiarts stayed with Trelk and Keypark, causing Trelk to grow increasingly uneasy as he observed them fiddling with the ship's controls. "Hey, cut that out!" Trelk snapped at one of them who was meddling with the weapons rack, his voice laced with irritation. Kepark, sensing the tension, intervened before the situation could escalate further. "Let's focus on the task at hand," he advised, his tone firm yet diplomatic. After a while, Gromp, Patricia, and Chong called everyone into the conference room, where Gromp explained the plan for the Ixiarts to assist in safely escorting Ford to the ship, their unease palpable as they prepared for the mission ahead. Inside the conference room, Gromp outlined the details of the mission to Xong and his team, emphasizing the importance of ensuring Ford's safe escort to the ship. "We'll need to work together closely to pull this off without a hitch," Gromp stated, his tone authoritative yet diplomatic. Xong, the Ixiart leader, nodded in agreement, his expression serious as he listened intently to Gromp's instructions. As preparations were made for the mission, tensions simmered beneath the surface as the two groups, each with their own methods and motives, prepared to collaborate for a common goal. With Ford's safety hanging in the balance, the success of their mission relied on the ability of these uneasy allies to set aside their differences and work together effectively. Both teams converged at the bustling spaceport as the crew of the Muntun Yadar prepared to disembark. The Ixiarts seamlessly blended into the crowd of travelers, their presence barely noticeable among the diverse array of races. Gromp issued orders to Kepark to do the same. "Blend in with the masses, keep your eyes open for anything out of the ordinary. Violence is authorized." Kepark melted into the crowd almost instantly. Meanwhile, Patricia, Trelk, and Gromp positioned themselves near the entrance of the Muntun Yadar's crew, scanning the sea of faces for their target. Amidst the chaos of disembarkation, Gromp's sharp eyes caught sight of Ford, and they moved swiftly to intercept him. Gromp spoke to Ford in a clear voice while presenting his identification. "It's a bad day when it rains on Mars." Ford swiftly replied, "That is why I take 2 trips to the moon." Gromp requested his compliance, leading him away quickly just as a scuffle erupted nearby between an Ixiart, a Verbgot, and a Morale security guard, adding to the chaos of the scene. With Ford in tow, the group made their way back to their ship, their mission underway as they navigated through the tumult of the spaceport. Gromp, eager for an update on the situation, activated his communicator, Kepark Report. Kepark informed him, "It looks like one of the Ixiarts is handling a potential threat. I will stay back to make sure no one follows you." As they reached their ship, Gromp, Patricia, and Ford entered the sealed-off conference room to await further developments, their anticipation mounting as they prepared for the next phase of their mission. Shortly after their arrival at the ship, Kepark and the Ixiarts joined the group, their presence signaling a pivotal moment in the mission. Xong, the Ixiart leader, entered the conference room, his feline features betraying none of the tension simmering beneath the surface. Ford and Chong grabbed each other's wrists in a greeting. "It's good to see you again," Ford said with a welcoming smile. Xong was going to reply with a psychic message, but decided not to be rude as he spoke. "You owe me a rematch from Mars." Gromp looked at a card that was flashing on the upper right side of the screen. It was the file on Chong and Ford's first meeting. He dismissed it for now. The screen came alive with encrypted live transmissions from Alliance intelligence. An Alliance Space Navy captain named Turner sitting at a desk addressed Ford. "Special Agent Ford, it's good to see you made it. We haven't received a report from you for several months. We thought you may have been lost to us." Ford replied with a stoic grin. "No, sir, not yet at least, and certainly not for lack of others trying. Being a human on an intergalactic cargo vessel is as dangerous as being in a prison, I would say. But let's get to business. The Warden of Tilnom is just the tip of the iceberg that we can see over the waterline, and there will be other assassination contracts coming out of Tilnom. Certain targets I've been able to identify are Chieftain Jerkry, as the Prosinuthians are starting to feel the sting of the Ixiart shock troopers slowing down their shipments and transports. Other targets are myself and a few others I will discuss later. The Prosinuthian Empire already know about the training camp on Mars, but they really can't do anything about it. They figure they can put the Ixiarts back in line if they kill the key chieftains that are organizing this resistance. Senator Holtz was killed for several different reasons, most importantly because he was one of the main voices behind the all-come-home cause. Patricia quickly inquired, "Is that the movement Earth colonies are demanding where we liberate all humans from slavery?" Ford answered with assurance, "The very same. The Alliance Senate was not going to organize a giant fleet to go back to war with the Prosinuthian Empire for a non-confirmed estimated number of less than 40,000 humans that may or may not be still slaving away across Prosinuthian space. That's why Senator Holtz pushed for the Ixiart training program amongst other programs. The best route was to prepare our allies to cut away parts of the Prosinuthian Empire, to gather intelligence if human slaves are alive and where they are held, while simultaneously helping other races free themselves." Xong began to share information. I, Xong of the Diovla tribe, discovered the unregulated contract to kill Chieftain Jerkry of the Diovla tribe when we were monitoring transmissions from this sector. My squad has terminated all assassins that received those contracts. We knew nothing of Ford until today, but I can report we have confirmation on 40,000 Ixiarts and 10,000 humans on Tilnum from a few intercepted transmissions we were able to decrypt. We are slowly entering Prosinuthian space. Maybe we find more. After our talks here, I, Xong of the Diovla tribe, will be leaving this station." Ford closed out this report with, "Sir, I have another report I must make to you in private." After ordering everyone except Ford out of the room, Captain Turner awaited Ford's final report. With a serious expression, Ford simply said, "There is a high-ranking traitor in the Alliance government working with the Prosinuthian Empire. They want us to go to war." As Ford exited the conference room, he expressed his intention to return to his planned activities with the rest of the Muntun Yadar's crew members. Xong made a witty comment as he bade him farewell. "I guess I will have to wait for that rematch." Ford couldn't help but voice his curiosity. "How are you successfully disrupting the Prosinuthian shipping lines?" Kong, ever forthcoming, explained the origins of their strategy. "We utilized reversed-engineered Prosinuthian cruisers obtained during the Prosinith-Terran War. With Alliance support, Ixiart tribes had been equipped with their own ships, which we used to implement guerrilla hit-and-run tactics learned from our training on Mars." Recognizing the impossibility of confronting the Prosinuthian Empire head-on, we had opted for a war of attrition, targeting transport ships in specific sectors of space to disrupt supplies and liberate oppressed races. Our chieftains hope the Alliance can make similar training programs for the Kyukis in the future, although with the current limitations due to the Alliance's not having too many more ships they can spare, it is understandable we use what we have. Ford listened intently, his fascination growing with each detail. He marveled at their strategic ingenuity and resilience in the face of overwhelming odds, recognizing they applied their training as well as any Space Marine could. As Ford and the Ixiarts departed, Patricia wasted no time in issuing new orders to Trelk and Keypark. She outlined their plan. "We return to Fintalk's office for the scheduled meeting. Trelk and I will be maintaining the facade that we are there to speak with the Warden. Meanwhile, Agent Wall and Keypark will be locating this Opreen." Trelk voiced his concerns. "Fintalk obviously has set a trap, and following through with this could result in our demise." Patricia answered resolutely, "Follow my orders without question. It's important to maintain our cover and pushing forward with our mission." Despite Trelk's apprehension, Patricia's unwavering confidence in their plan spurred them onward as they prepared to face the dangers that lay ahead. As they made their way back to Fintalk's office shortly before their meeting was scheduled to begin, the tension hung heavy in the air as Trelk grappled with the uncertainty of their situation. Gromp's analytical mind worked overtime as he strategized their next move, determined to navigate through the potential dangers ahead. With each step closer to their destination, the anticipation mounted, the looming presence of O'Preen casting a shadow over their mission. Upon their arrival, Patricia and Trelk maintained their facade, exchanging pleasantries with Fintalk while concealing their true intentions. Meanwhile, Gromp and Kepark remained vigilant, scanning the rooms close by for any sign of O'Preen's presence. Fintalk's scrutinizing gaze fell upon Patricia, his voice laced with suspicion. "Why would a Geeson like you be in league with a Noan pirate?" he questioned, his tone edged with skepticism. Patricia met his gaze squarely, her expression unreadable. "Opportunities arise where they may," she replied evasively, attempting to steer the conversation away from her own motives. But Fintalk was persistent, pressing further. "And what of your past? How did you come to meet this Noan?" he probed, his curiosity evident. Growing increasingly frustrated, Patricia redirected the conversation, her voice tinged with impatience. "Enough about me. Are we meeting the warden or not?" she demanded, her tone leaving no room for negotiation. Fintalk's demeanor shifted, his expression hardening as he waved over his morale security guard. "Frail things like you should not make threats," he warned, his voice laced with menace. Trelk, sensing the escalating tension, attempted to intervene as he stood between them. "Perhaps it's just best we—" But before he finished, Patricia sprang into action. From her left hand, she unleashed a flashbang grenade that left their adversaries stunned. With swift precision and speed, she took one of the Morale's weapons from his holster and shot him point-blank in the center of his head. He fell to the ground with a heavy thump. 2 other members of Fintalk's crew were killed quickly by Patricia's marksmanship. As the chaos subsided, Trelk found himself grappling with the sudden turn of events as his sight returned, his perception of Patricia shifting in light of her decisive actions. He could not believe he was witnessing Fintalk on the ground, attempting to struggle out of Agent Martinez's hold. Facing Patricia's unwavering determination, Fintalk relented, his resistance crumbling in the face of her superior strength. As Trelk watched on, he couldn't help but marvel at Patricia's prowess, newfound respect blossoming within him for the enigmatic agent. Patricia tightened her grip on Fintalk, her brow furrowed in suspicion. "Why did you stop struggling so quickly?" she demanded, her voice laced with urgency. As Agent Gromp Wall and Kepark entered the room with O'Preen in custody, Patricia's attention shifted to the new arrival. "I am assuming that's the infamous O'Preen?" she questioned, eyeing O'Preen warily. Gromp stepped forward, his expression grave. "More than that. O'Preen is not a Geeson. He's a human, just like you," he explained, his tone somber. "We had quite the struggle subduing him." With O'Preen in custody, Patricia wasted no time in pressing Fintalk for answers. "What is the meaning of all this?" she demanded, her voice sharp with determination. Fintalk's response was cryptic. "It's just business. I am just a middleman taking his cut," he replied dismissively, his gaze shifting away from Patricia's piercing stare. Unsatisfied with his vague answer, Patricia ordered Kepark to keep a close eye on Fintalk while she and Gromp interrogated O'Preen further. However, O'Preen insisted on speaking only to their superiors, further complicating the situation. With their prisoners in tow, the group made their way back to their ship, determined to uncover the truth behind the tangled web of deceit. As Gromp and Patricia entered the conference room to report to Alliance intelligence, Kepark and Trelk remained vigilant, keeping a watchful eye on their prisoners. It wasn't long before Gromp returned, escorting O'Preen into the room where Captain Turner's stern face awaited them on the monitor. With a commanding tone, Captain Turner demanded, "Identify yourself." O'Preen smiled as he answered, O'Preen, also known as Kevin Huang from Earth Colony Elpis. Captain Turner simply asked, "What is the meaning of your presence in this sector of space and your collaboration with the Geesons and the Warden of Tilnom?" O'Preen's words hung heavy in the air as he revealed his motivations. "The all-come-home cause is necessary," he asserted, his voice tinged with conviction. "The Alliance government's negligence towards its colonies has led to countless human lives being sacrificed for the sake of Earth's safety. You know, I am not the only one. There are others like me who feel the same way." The Human Alliance's new government is no different from the governments of Earth's history before the Prosenuthians came. The Alliance government willingly sacrificed tens of thousands of humans whose only crime were to be born on Earth's colonies to keep Earth itself safe from the Prosenuthian Empire. And you would not lift a finger to save any of them until the threat once again returned to Earth, specifically a member of your precious government. Senator Holtz was an ally, but even he would have understood that his sacrifice would force the Alliance to once again show its teeth and keep all humans safe. Captain Turner's response was measured yet firm. "So, you advocate for sacrificing millions to save thousands?" he countered, his voice echoing through the conference room. "Do you truly desire another war? That is your justification for treason and terrorism?" O'Preen stood his ground, his resolve unyielding. "It's a necessary sacrifice to ensure the survival of our species," he argued, his gaze unwavering. As tensions simmered in the room, Captain Turner's expression softened, reflecting the weight of the decision before them. "We must find a way to protect all of humanity without resorting to further bloodshed," he asserted, his voice tinged with determination. "We cannot repeat the mistakes of the past. You and those like you are the ones endangering our species. But that is not what we will answer today. You will be taken to Earth to stand trial." Captain Turner turned to Agents Martinez and Wall. "Agents, well done. Your orders are to leave immediately, head straight to Alliance-controlled space, where an escort will be waiting for you. No stops anywhere, bring both your prisoners. And keep the Noan and the Verbgot on your team. I have a feeling these fanatics have other plans we will need to prepare for." O'Preen injected the last words before Captain Turner signed off. "That is exactly what you should have been doing. Prepare for the war that must happen." Agent Wall ordered Trelk to take the ship to Alliance-controlled space as Agent Martinez secured the prisoners in a holding cell. Keypark decided to take the first shift of watch over the prisoners. As Trelk was busy navigating the ship at best possible speed out of Prosenuthian space, Agent Martinez approached Agent Wall. With concern, she asked, "Do you think they will be successful in igniting a second war?" Gromp contemplated his answer as his cybernetic implants glinted before he spoke. "I don't have enough information to answer that. We don't know how many of them there are or what their plans are. Our best chance is to see what Alliance intelligence can get out of our prisoners and plan from there. Take solace in the fact you have done your duty well, Agent Martinez. Our actions may just have been enough to help avoid a second war." Agent Martinez took a few moments of composure before replying, "Once we finish our debriefing, I plan to take Trelk and Keypark back to Glicken 5. We can assign Trelk as an informant until the end of his sentence. Keypark, I will recommend he be assigned a new identity and be given a position of an operator." Gromp simply replied, "I take it you changed your mind on the recommendation of terminate him after the mission was completed. Good, I was thinking the same thing. He does listen. I was astonished he didn't figure out he was planned for termination, since his life was only extended to serve this one mission. He has proven to be a reliable asset, and with what lies ahead, I will recommend the same." Trelk gave a self-satisfying smile of relief as he listened to the conclusion of the special agent's conversation. After all, this was his ship. Regardless of how many Alliance's engineers meddled with it, nothing on his ships was secret to him. Not even the most secure of meetings in any of his conference room on his ship. A golden rule of business is to always be a step ahead of who you are doing business with. He celebrated in silence as he continued to navigate his ship back into Alliance-controlled space.